The movie opens with a narration explaining that in 1988, crime rate in the United States soared by up to 400%. To tackle this, the U.S. government isolated Manhattan Island in New York City by erecting a 50-foot containment wall around it. New York City then transforms into the nation's only maximum security prison, with mines surrounding the bridges and tunnels. Inside, there are no guards, but the area is closely monitored by the U.S. police force stationed around the island. All the criminals are sentenced to life with no means of escaping their grim reality. Fast forward to 1997, we find two individuals desperately trying to flee on a makeshift raft. A military helicopter hovers above them, giving a final warning to turn back to the island. As they sail further, the police force drops a gas canister that swiftly destroys their raft and ends their lives. The helicopter then returns to its base on Liberty Island, which serves as the main headquarters for the U.S. police force overseeing the island. Later, a prisoner transport bus pulls up at headquarters carrying Snake Plissken, a former U.S. Special Forces soldier now turned criminal. Plissken is brought in for initial processing at Liberty Island Security Control after being convicted of robbing the Federal Reserve. Meanwhile, Flight Captain Rema reports to Police Commissioner Bob Hawke about a small jet facing some difficulties. Rema goes on to explain that air traffic control has been unable to establish contact with the jet for the past 20 minutes. At that moment, it becomes clear that the jet in question is Air Force One, the official aircraft of the President of the United States. It's revealed that the president was on his way to an international peace summit when Air Force One was hijacked by a member of an anti-government group. This individual, a woman, deliberately aims to crash the plane into the isolated Manhattan Island. Fortunately, the president manages to reach an escape pod in time, equipped with a life monitor bracelet on his wrist to locate him if he gets separated from the pod. The escape pod is then launched to the streets below, just as the plane crashes. Rema and Hawke can only watch helplessly as events unfold on monitors at the command center on Liberty Island. Following the crash, Hawke quickly organizes a team of soldiers to fly to the crash site. Upon reaching the Manhattan prison area, they discover the escape pod empty, with no sign of the president. Hawke and the soldiers are soon confronted by a man named Romero, who claims to speak on behalf of the island's prisoners. Romero then reveals that the inmates have captured the president and presents one of his severed fingers. Moreover, he demands that they vacate the island within 30 seconds if they wish to see the president alive. Hawke and the soldiers retreat to their helicopters and return to Liberty Island. Later, the vice president contacts Hawke and grants him permission to proceed with his plan to rescue the president. Hawke then brings Snake Plissken, the veteran soldier turned criminal, to his office and presents him with a deal. The mission involves Snake infiltrating the isolated Manhattan Island prison to rescue the president, as well as retrieve a cassette tape containing vital information on nuclear fusion. In return, Snake will receive a full pardon for all his past crimes and sentences. However, the mission must be accomplished within 24 hours, as the president's presence is required at an international summit during that time. After being briefed on the task, Snake reluctantly agrees to undertake the rescue mission. Hawke then has him injected with a booster to fend off disease. However, the medical tech reveals this shocking truth that Snake has actually been injected with microscopic capsules to ensure his compliance with orders and prevent him from abandoning the mission. These capsules are set to rupture his arteries in 24 hours and cannot be tampered with until the final 15 minutes before detonation. If Snake successfully retrieves the president and the cassette tape in time, Hawke promises to save him from his death by neutralizing the explosives in his neck with X-rays. Furious upon learning this, Snake vows to make Hawke pay when he returns. Next, Snake is escorted to the wall and sent into the Manhattan Island prison on a silent glider. He then executes a rough yet covert landing atop the World Trade Center before heading down on an elevator. Carefully navigating the streets of New York City, he locates the wreckage of the hijacked plane and the empty escape pod. Snake then follows the signal given off by the president's life monitor bracelet and arrives at the basement of an old theater. As he continues with his mission, he fends off many hostile prisoners within the theater. However, upon locating the president, Snake discovers that it's only a drunk old man wearing the life monitor bracelet. He then informs Hawk about this development, only to be ordered to continue his search without delay. Later, Snake leaves the theater and stumbles upon a person sneaking through the dimly lit streets. More figures like this gradually emerge from the shadows, and their group keeps expanding. These people are known as the Crazies, a notorious gang that lurks the streets after dark. As they begin to pursue him, Snake takes shelter in an abandoned diner where he encounters a young woman. She then pleads with him to help her escape, but the Crazies soon arrive at the diner. Unfortunately, the woman is dragged from beneath the floor and attacked, while Snake abandons her and flees to safety. As Snake flees from the dangerous Crazies in the streets, he's nearly cornered. Just then, he comes across a friendly prisoner named Cabby, who arrives just in time in his taxi to rescue Snake. Cabby then lights a petrol bomb and throws it at the Crazies, keeping them away for a bit. As they drive away, Snake pulls out a gun and asks Cabby about the president's whereabouts. The man then reveals that the president has been captured by the Duke of New York, the biggest crime lord on the island. Afterward, Cabby drives Snake to meet Brain, an intelligent prisoner who might have the information he needs. They then head to the New York Public Library where Maggie, Brain's girlfriend, welcomes them and takes them to see Brain. To Snake's surprise, he recognizes Brain as Harold Hellman, someone he knew in the past. As he confronts Brain, he learns that the president is being held captive by the notorious gang leader called the Duke of New York. This dangerous figure leads a gang known as the Gypsies, considered the toughest in the city. They also discover that the Duke plans to escape over the heavily guarded 69th Street Bridge, using the president as both protection and leverage. In a surprising turn of events, the Duke arrives with his henchmen to obtain a blueprint of the minefields on the bridge. Sensing an opportunity, Snake forces Brain and Maggie to take him to the Duke's hideout. He even steals a car from one of the Duke's crew and drives away with the hesitant couple. On their way to the hideout, they run into the dangerous territory of the Skulls. Although the Skulls even launch an attack on them, they manage to narrowly escape with their lives. Upon reaching the hideout, Snake discovers the president imprisoned in an old train car. Together, they devise a plan. Brain and Maggie will create a distraction to draw the gang's attention away, while Snake sneaks into the car to rescue the president. Although Snake gets injured in the process, he keeps pushing through. Unfortunately, he and the president get captured by the Duke's crew, crushing their hopes of getting away. It is then revealed that Brain, driven by self-interest, betrayed them by informing the Duke about their whereabouts. The Duke then shoots open the president's briefcase, revealing its contents. In the midst of the chaos, Romero grabs hold of the nuclear fusion cassette tape from the briefcase. The next day, Snake is forced into a brutal fighting ring, where he has to fight against a tough opponent named Fruit. In the meantime, Brain and Maggie come up with a clever plan to trick Romero and the Duke's crew into letting them get to the president. The two take advantage of the opportunity and get rid of Romero and his guards. Ultimately, Brain and Maggie free the president and head for Snake's glider in hopes of escaping together. Meanwhile, Snake wins his tough fight, impressing the crowd watching. Just then, a henchman brings news to the Duke that the president has escaped. Infuriated, he sends his gang after them without mercy. At that moment, Snake seizes the chance to slip away and meets up with Brain, Maggie, and the president at the glider. Unfortunately, their escape plan is ruined when a gang of prisoners called the Indians interferes. As the glider crashes from the building, Snake and the group come together again to escape when they suddenly run into Cabby. The group then speeds away from danger, with the Duke and his gang hot on their trail. During the tense journey, Cabby reveals he has a nuclear fusion tape, which he had traded with Romero. The president demands the tape, asserting his authority. However, Snake holds onto it to ensure he has some control in this dangerous situation. With time running out, Snake and the group drive toward the dangerous mine-filled bridge. The Duke and his gang keep chasing them, desperate to catch them before they reach the safety of the bridge. Unfortunately, their cab hits a landmine, causing a huge explosion and killing Cabby in the process. Following the explosion, Snake and the rest of them come out of the wreckage. They try to scatter on foot, determined to get the president back to safety before it's too late. But tragedy strikes again when Brain accidentally steps on a mine. Maggie refuses to leave her beloved behind and shoots at the Duke's car to slow him down. As the Duke fights back, it causes a chaotic crash that ends Maggie's life. Despite the losses, Snake and the president keep going and reach the containment wall that stands between them and safety. Just when the guards get ready to lift the president to safety, the Duke launches a final attack on Snake. In the midst of the chaos, the president takes down the crime lord with a gun as revenge for the suffering he endured while he was held captive. With the Duke out of the picture, the guards help Snake and the president to safety on Liberty Island. The doctors then use X-rays to deactivate the mini-explosives in Snake's neck, just in time to narrowly prevent another disaster. As the president gets ready for a speech, he extends his gratitude to Snake for saving him. At that moment, Snake asks the president how he feels about the deaths that occurred to rescue him. However, the once frightened and captive president responds with nearly dismissive regret, which makes Snake lose respect for him. During the president's speech, he offers the cassette to the summit and asks for the tape to be played. As the whole summit watches, the president discovers that the tape has been swapped with a recording of Cabby's Bandstand Boogie. Meanwhile, Snake walks away and takes apart the real cassette tape containing the nuclear fusion data as the movie comes to an end.